right? And like all this vertical content where people are creating kind of like short films almost, whether that's
They
a
are.
vlog or they have a full studio production setup and the cast. And how do you see kind of that industry being affected by film or TV or at all?
I think personally that it's brilliant, those on the other side, that they are able to create their own content. As you said, one can make a film on one's phone, the
Yeah, it's
wonders of the internet. I think that in 10 years or less, terrestrial television will be gone.
it'll probably be like radio, right? Like radio's still around,
Of course, yes.
but or no one's
No,
listening to radio rather.
not what.
You're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Good.
I don't really like to do intros. I'll just kind of let you do your own intro a little bit, but thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
Yeah. So if you can, let's give folks just kind of a little cliff notes on maybe how you found me, what you do, what your interests are, and the reason you want to hop on the show today.
Okay. Well, I found Tony on Facebook. He popped up on suggested friends. So I took
Sorry
a peek
about that,
at
by the way.
No problem. I was impressed by what I saw, so I decided to add him. And, I found out that he was a content creator, and I watched some of his videos and was impressed. So I thought, oh, I could go on there. Why not? Yes, I've been doing a lot of podcasts lately, a lot of interviews, and in doing so, I'm raising awareness with regards to neurodiversity in the arts and autism in acting, as I myself am autistic. I style myself as the articulate autistic actor, and my aim is to raise awareness of the condition and other forms of neurodivergence, such as ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, etc., and at the same time reduce the stigma.
I love that, and congrats to yourself as well for taking the plunge, so to speak, and to talk about it. Because me personally, I've been a big advocate of kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit as of late, which is a big reason why I started my podcast originally. And as someone who suffers from a chronic disease, I was kind of weary a little bit to talk about it. And it took me a few years to get comfortable talking about it. And I suffer from Crohn's disease, which it's not the worst disease by any means. I consider myself very lucky that I'm able to figure out ways to deal with it. But I think whether it's self-esteem or whether it's a chronic illness or there's always that inner like monster that we're always fighting against, right? And when you can finally confront that monster, that's right. And when you can confront that monster and go head on, life seems a lot more easier after that. So
It does, definitely.
yeah. So hats off to you for dealing with it.
Thank you, and you.
Thank you. So when you say you're an actor, are you? And I think we talked about this before, but where are you out of?
It's okay. I live in the UK.
The UK, that's right. Yeah. Because I think we talked about that originally, where we were figuring out the time change, and I was like, okay, UK, very
Yes.
good. Well, you're like the third person from the UK I've interviewed, so
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of cool. So I'm glad again the time frame worked out well. But if you can kind of tell us a little bit about what you do in the UK and projects you've been working on and kind of your background in that aspect.
Of course, I am an actor, first and foremost. I'm also a model. I've, had several modeling jobs. My most of what I've done are student films and short films, but I have had a speaking role in a TV drama series that was aired some years ago when I was also acting. I played the character of PC Smith in Prey, which is available to watch online. Yes.
Very cool.
But it's only in the last 2 years that I've been applying myself consistently, and it has paid off. I've managed to get onto the UK's leading casting site, which, one either needs qualifications or, good enough credits to get on. I've got myself a few agents. I'm not limiting myself to just one.
Right.
And I'm filming a web series either next month or the month after. The director's getting back to me. And I also have another short film coming up in which I am the lead.
Oh, congrats.
Thank
And
you.
has that already started production and filming, or are you working out dates for that?
Yes, it'll be filmed sometime in the spring, so possibly late May.
Nice. Good time of weather to be filming too.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Look forward to it,
That's awesome.
especially as there will be scenes filmed outside.
There you go. Very cool. And what made you get into acting in particular? Have you been in it for a while?
Yes, I've been acting on and off for all my life, more or less.
Yeah.
When I was 3 years old, I aspired to be a ballet dancer, but I was considered too tall. I'm 5'11", but I've always, been tall. I was a tall child. So my mother enrolled me in acting classes. I attended an acting school which had an agency attached to it. And through this agency, I got roles in commercials and a couple of children's TV shows. But it was the theatre in which I was able to fully express myself, and I fell in love with it. So I became a member of His Majesty's Theatre in Aberdeen, Scotland. That's where I'm originally from, where I would regularly perform in plays and pantomimes. And so it's safe to say that the theatre is my first love.
That's very sick. Yeah, a lot of people have told me that. I have a couple buddies that are actors and actresses out in California, and they said that, and of course, every single actor has their own craft. But usually, when you get into theater, which I never had the opportunity to get into it, but I always thought I would excel at that because I feel like you could be more expressive, right?
Express, definitely, yes.
Whether it's yeah, exactly, projection, especially physically. Because me, I'm always that. I feel like I'm that type of person. I would excel at theater because I do feel it's less. I don't want to say you can do what you want. You have the freedom because of course every production is different. But I would imagine, do you find that it's a little bit more fulfilling and more freeing to do theater as opposed to like maybe television acting or?
As far as the craft is concerned, because of course I'm allowed to, gesture and use my hands and project my voice. And, I feel as though I can really get into the character. Of course, I can get into any character, whether that be stage or screen, but with the stage, it speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And do you have family and friends out there that are in the industry as well, or are you just doing this thing on your own?
I'm doing this on my own.
Nice.
Of course, I have friends. Well, most of my friends are actors or creatives. I've built a community over the last few years, but no family members that I can think of off the top of my head are at all involved in the creative arts. I'm a one-woman show.
One-woman show, I love it. Yeah, that's the problem with the time zones and doing these things virtually, is the lag. Most of my podcasts were in person prior to the pandemic, and then we started doing virtual. But it's kind of nice because now we can work on each other's schedule when you're on the other side of the world. So
of course,
yeah, so it is pretty cool. But let me ask you, when it comes to movies, film, TV, how are you kind of relating that to what's happening right now in the creator world? Because I don't know if you follow too much of the creator economy or creatives as a whole. You had a couple friends that are creatives, but it's interesting that you look at like apps like TikTok and right, and like all this vertical content where people are creating kind of like short films almost, whether that's a vlog or they have a full studio production setup and the cast. And I'm seeing like I forget which creator it was, but I just saw something earlier today where he was kind of like doing this Saturday Night Lifestyle skit, and it was on his phone via TikTok, vertical content. It probably cost $0 to maybe $100 to make this thing. And, he's got millions and millions of views, right? Like how do you see kind of that industry being affected by film or TV or at all?
I think personally that it's brilliant, for, those on the other side, that they are able to create their own content. That's what I'm looking at doing. Yes, I'm not only sitting around waiting for my agents to contact me and let me know, oh, we have this audition coming up, are you interested, etc. I'm not only doing that, I'm looking into creating my own content, and as you said, one can make a film on one's phone. The wonders of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But
very
it's
fascinating.
interesting, yes, and it will be even more so to see how this goes, because I think that in 10 years or less, terrestrial television will be gone.
I agree. It's almost like it'll probably be like radio, right? Like radio's still around,
Of course,
but
it's still a thing.
yeah, but no one's watching radio or no one's listening to radio rather.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're not really watching TV because people really aren't watching TV either. It's
I must confess I don't watch television, which is an irony, but it's a fact.
Yeah, and
very rare.
And do you find yourself streaming as well? Do you do the Netflix and the HBO Max and all that jazz as well? Yeah.
Yes, Netflix, HBO.
Yeah, the usual. Because I find it fascinating that just the other day, I started because I'm a big movie trailer guy. Like I love trailers. It's like my vice. Like my wife always makes fun of me, but I could probably sit and watch movie trailers all day. And I just get on this rabbit hole of like watching, a trailer here, a trailer there, and the next thing you know, I'm watching like trailers from like the 1980s, and it's this fascinating thing because I love trailers that, and I think maybe because it's the content creator in me, where you take a story and you can condense it into less than 2 minutes, and
Absolutely.
you're trying to tell this story that could be a 2-hour-long movie just in 2 minutes, but you can't get all of it out because you want to entice people to come and see the movie, but you also want to make it appealing, right? Where people go. So
so keep a tight rope.
That's right. That's right. And I found myself not only stuck in that rabbit hole, but I was watching it on my phone, and then I would mirror it to my TV. So I watch it, right? Because I'm watching it on my TV, but it's all through my phone, which is fascinating because I could easily pull up the internet on my TV, but we're always so conditioned to having our phone and just press that little mirror button, and it goes right to the TV, and it's, and then I look at myself and I'm like, I caught myself like after an hour, and I'm going down this rabbit hole of YouTube, and then I look around and I'm like, I have these apps like Netflix and HBO Max and Hulu, and I'm paying for all these services. But then here I am watching a free service on my phone that's being screened to my TV. It's like, why am I paying for these services when all I do is watch TikTok and YouTube? I don't know.
Absolutely, yes. Waste of money.
It's great though.
And one could have a TV license.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, do you even see where do you see streaming going? Do you feel there's going to be more streaming services, less? Do you feel like we're going to be all on our phones in 10 years? Like, where do you see this going?
Oh, I definitely see that there will be more streaming services available.
Yeah.
And mobile telephones are not going anywhere. They're only going to become more advanced and what have you.
That's right.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see it. I see it definitely advancing and getting more and more interesting to consume content. But I also, like, as I'm talking through it, I think it would be really interesting to see how cable might make a comeback, because I'm starting to add up. Like, I don't know if you've done this lately, but I added up all the streaming services that I pay for, and it's the same cost as what I used to pay just for cable. And I think originally my cable bill was like $150, a decade ago, or $100, whatever it was. But now I got rid of cable, and I'm like, I'm not going to do cable. I'm only going to do streaming services, and I'm going to ditch the cord, and I'm not going to. But then all these streaming services come up like Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, like all this stuff. And now I'm paying like $150 a month, and they keep raising rates too. And it's like, I'm almost like, is it better just to get cable and not deal with this thing? I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely. And I believe that streaming platforms are also available on cable as well. Yes, I can access Netflix on my television.
Really? How so?
But, you know, the remote control comes with a Netflix button option,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, the smart TVs.
the smart TVs, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I forget about that because I use like Roku and Apple Plus and stuff. So yeah, I forget it is like standard now, right? To have those buttons on the remotes. Man, that's crazy. And to think that these companies are just relying on companies like Netflix and Amazon. They're not going out of business anytime soon. But imagine if they did. Then you have
Now
all
that's
these
the story.
yeah, because then you have all these remotes that have these buttons and you can't use them.
No, they'll have to go.
Yeah, they're really they're putting all the cards on the table
Yeah,
with it.
cards on the table, yes.
That's right. And so what else are you doing to create awareness? You know, because I love again, I love the passion, and you know, when you reached out, I wanted to definitely give you a platform to talk about it. But as someone who is autistic and that's an actor currently in the UK, are you finding that the community itself, does it have a strong passion for the arts? How are you seeing that?
I would say that there are, you know, a disproportionate, not in a negative way, of course, but
Right.
there is a high proportion of autistic and neurodivergent people in the arts, particularly acting. And I think the reason for that could be that they feel accepted. And this is true for people from other communities, be they, you know, homosexuals or people of color, etc. Yes, and I think that's great. You know, I've
Absolutely.
always felt welcome here
That's
in the
great.
arts.
Yeah. And, you know, it's so interesting how, you know, society has evolved so rapidly, I feel like. And then we look back and we're kind of like, well, why did it take so long?
Precisely.
You know, it's
I wasn't a child that long ago.
right. Yeah. I mean, it was even, I don't even know what, 3 people ago that
Three people ago,
3
yeah.
people ago that we had slaves.
Exactly.
I mean,
yes.
that's when you,
Slavery, we had segregation.
right. Like 2 people ago, a woman couldn't even vote.
No,
It's mind blowing. And then, you know,
absolutely.
but then we also think like, imagine, okay, so that was only 300 years ago and so much so imagine another 300 years. Like, where are we going to go? I feel like things are definitely getting better and better as the days go on. But it's also kind of a scary time though, in some aspects of it too, right? Like, you know, there's as diverse as things are, it's interesting to be devil's advocate. It's interesting to be devil's advocate to look at, okay, so things are diverse, but also why are we more divided? I feel like than we have, you know, in 100 years. It seems that way anyway.
Yes,
But
which is a shame.
it
But
is.
there is hope.
There is hope. Yeah. And I don't even know if we're divided as much as, you know, mass media and
Yeah, like
everybody. Right. Everyone portrays it to be, because maybe it's social media, you know, maybe it's everyone's on our phones and these companies are feeding us all the negative stuff. So that's what we're
yes,
consuming,
they
right?
do to sell stories.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, because that is what sells, right? Like, you know, the John Wick does really well because it's one guy shooting a bunch of people in the face. Like, people like to see it. It's just we're naturally, inherently, I just think we're violent. And, you know, thank God out of the 8 billion people, not only does the mass, you know, majority of people not release that aggression and that violence, thank goodness, right?
Yes,
But there is a lot of people, right? And there's so many people, so we're lucky that we don't kind of release that aggression. But I think all in all, just humanity as a whole, we're just I don't know, maybe from the inside we're itching to be territorial and dominant and animalistic.
dominant, animalistic. Well, we are animals.
We are animals, so maybe it's just
That
yeah. So it's this thing we're just fighting. So, you know, when we see that on our news feed, we're like, ooh, yes, I love it. We need it. Ooh, anger.
Yes.
And I think,
Violence, aggression.
yeah. And that really shows in each of us when we drive, I've realized. You know, you could tell a human being and their real true self when they get cut off in traffic. That's how you know. That's how you know.
I'm not immune to that.
Nor I. That is a human that I am not proud of when I look at myself in the rearview mirror there, because I say things that I've never even thought of. It's so, yeah.
Perhaps don't even know where they come from. Was that
like
me? Did I think that? Do I think that?
Can I even say those words? I didn't know I could say those words. Yeah, but you know, that's more importantly, or that's all more reason. I think we need people that are in the arts, that are creating these fictional worlds that we can hop into and kind of live through.
Yes, I do that.
Yeah, because it kind of gives us an escape, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy most about watching film and watching TV. Is it kind of separates you from what's really happening. I feel like there is a difference, though, right? There's a difference between movies and film, and then on our phones, because I think our phones, we kind of use that to escape as well. But maybe it's too real, right? Because perhaps we're holding it and we feel closer to these people because it's more kind of like that selfie authentic mode versus like when you go to the movie theater, it's this big screen that's out of touch and yeah. Like, what do you think the difference between that? Why do we find that distinction? Why is it more fascinating on the phone versus phone?
Yes, on the telephone, you know, one, because as you said, we're actually touching it. We feel that those we see on our telephones are touchable, you know, so therefore more relatable. And we can actually, you know, we can have them in our homes, in our bedrooms. I think that's the reason. I mean, I'd never thought about it until you mentioned it, but now that I am thinking about it, I would say, yes, it's much more close and personal.
Yeah. Well, you explained it beautifully, by the way. You added to that.
Thank you.
For someone who's never thought about that, well done.
Thank you.
But I do think about that a lot, especially as a creator and a podcaster, because I've talked to people that have watched my podcast on YouTube from their TV in their home, not even on their phone. And I'm like, why do you do that? And they're like, I keep it in the background. I like watching it. And to me, it's better than, you know, escaping from reality by consuming violence and, you know, maybe some angry content versus something like that. And that might be the future too. I mean, who knows? I mean, as we're getting more and more intelligent, we're understanding that everything we're consuming could affect us mentally.
Yes, that's one of the downsides.
Yeah, yeah. Even though, you know, all the stuff that we watch is awesome, but you know, but it's also like, you know, people are consuming caffeine and alcohol, and that's awesome too. But we know there's some downsides of that. You know, but I think we're eventually going to realize that consuming all this negative content and watching negative movies and stuff, even though it is entertaining and escape from reality, but if there's something else that you can consume that's better for you, that might be a better way to live, you know, your life down the road. So.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I was reminding myself of that last night when I put on some, you know, gritty drama with elements of racism and violence, etc. You know, I actually thought to myself, right, that's enough. Time for something more lighthearted.
So true. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way. It's got to be either lighthearted or it's got to be like completely out of the box. You know, like that's why I love superhero movies, because that's like, it's, you know, it's so far away from what is.
So far-fetched.
Right. That it truly is an escape, almost like a video game. And then, you know, you watch, like, I'm really into Last of Us, which is an adaptation from the video game. I don't know if you've seen that on HBO Max. It's like a zombie series?
I've seen it advertised. I've seen
Yeah.
posters.
You
Not
know
much.
us. You know us Americans. We love our zombies, but
You do.
that to me is right. Who doesn't? But that to me is like I Am Legend. You know, where
Legend,
it
yes.
you think it's far fetched, but really it's not. It's too. It's like too real sometimes, and when I watch that, I have to like immediately watch like The Office or something
The
to kind of
complete
right.
yes, come back to reality.
Yeah, exactly. The UK version of The Office, obviously, is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
my
equivalent.
man Ricky Gervais, love it.
Who
So
doesn't?
who doesn't? So, but before I do let you go, though, I am curious as an actor, as a creative, is there any movies, shows, film that are kind of your go-tos right now? Is there anything really hot, maybe on streaming that people can go take a look at?
I myself am yet to watch the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings TV series, The Rings of Power,
Mm.
which is, ironic considering I'm a huge fan. Yes, I
Are
need to
ya?
get around to watching that. Yes, and House of the Dragon on
Ooh.
HBO. That's the prequel series to Game of Thrones.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if anybody does
that-
get there before I do,
yeah.
be sure to let me know how it is.
Yes. Well, I have finished it, and it is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings because I must say, don't get mad at me.
I won't.
I never got into Lord of the Rings. I tried, and it was like, it's like, yeah, it wasn't for me. Well, I also probably didn't give it a chance. It's like Harry Potter. I didn't give Harry Potter a chance. I'm only like one movie in, and there's like 10 more to go, and I'm like, no, I'm done.
No.
I'm just past it.
But you got into Game of Thrones.
I did watch Game of Thrones, which is hilarious because it's essentially just a violent version of Harry Potter,
Yeah.
without the wizardry. But yeah, I did watch Game of Thrones, one of my favorite, and then House of Dragon is unbelievable. So I hope they come out with season 2 quick because that was definitely up there for sure as one of the best, I think. So you're gonna like that.
I'm going to love it, I hope.
That's right. Well, very good. Well, let's do it. We're already at a half hour. I can't believe it. Time flies on this thing.
I feel like half an hour.
I know, right? Yeah. So if you can, let people know one more time where they can find you, your social media handles, and then, of course, for people just listening, I'm going to leave all the links in the description below. And, we'll get to it.
You can find me on Facebook at Mariama Bojang. Yes, mariama.bojang94, and on Instagram _Mariama Bojang.
Mariama. Well, this was great. Well, thank you so much again for
Thank you so
the time.
much.
It's my pleasure. This is cool. And then, of course, I'll send you everything as well. So if you want to share it, feel free, of course. But it was great to get to know you, and good luck with the acting career. I'm sure you're going to do fantastic. And keep that personal content going too. That's how you're going to grow, for sure.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you, Tony. It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure. Thank
as
you.
well. Enjoy your week, all right?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, hey there. First of all, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Not a lot of people do, according to the YouTube analytics, but I do want to say thanks for listening to this. There's some more episodes if you want to check those out, and they're all just as good. But if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out those timestamps below to reference some of the topics I talked about, as well as some discount links to some of our sponsors and affiliates. But thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.